happens when we are technically changing somebody's mindset and all the little elements that start to play into it. And I will say that there's a difference in the I believe I can, I believe I can't, and manifesting. Mm-hmm. And I want to just start this off with, I've worked with a lot of people that when you have the mindset of I believe I can't, you will never see the behaviors that will get you to the future and the path and the goals that you want to go to. Welcome back to Life at 1010s, where we inspire you to live at the pinnacle of your ability and purpose. I've got my great friend Matt Pinelli here with me today, as always, and we're going to have a whole lot of fun. But Matt, we have to celebrate something first. We can't just jump on in and just start podcasting. Like, we're trying to figure out, is it 101st, 101? How do you say it?
This 101st.
It wants to come out weird when I say it. This is our 101st episode of Life at 1010s. We realized it after we recorded the 100th episode, and we were like, oh my gosh, how did we get here? How did we get here this fast, Matt, to 100 plus episodes? And if you haven't listened to all of them, if you're listening right now, there's 100 episodes before this one of information and great people and great, Matt, congratulations, sir.
To you as well. I mean, it's fun. It was fun starting back at zero because we were over 500 something or other on our prior podcast, right? And so it's kind of like, oh, wow, 100, like that's a fun benchmark. And it's like, well, that's what happens when you show up consistently twice a week for almost a year, for 50 weeks in getting these things out there and published. And I think for us at our recording too, we record a little bit faster than they get published. So it's like, whoa, we're 100 in already. By the time this gets released, it will be that time frame. And it's consistency matters, which actually this correlates to what we're going to talk about a little bit today too.
Yeah.
Because it was the behavior of showing up and doing these podcasts that got us here. We didn't just necessarily poof it out of thin air.
Well, and Matt, you made the comment the other day that not only with this podcast, but even with what we were doing before, like you and I have not missed.
No.
We in all that time, we're going, 6 years now?
Yeah.
We have not missed 2 episodes a week. You and I have consistently put out 2 episodes a week through COVID, through market crazy shifts, the sky is falling, through amazing stuff that we've had go on in our lives that we've gone and done, and travels and trips we've done. Like, dude, consistency. Fist bump from all the way across the United States.
Yeah, that's a 3,000-mile fist bump, ladies and gentlemen.
That's a big one. It's a big one. It's a big one. All right.
Dude, it's been a fun journey. And thank you, all of you who are listening to us, who have been on this journey. Like, congratulations. If you listen to us at the beginning, you've now listened to 100 episodes of Matt and Garrett talking together, plus whatever you were listening to prior to that. And so thank you guys so much. Like this, the energy that you guys have, that you show up to listen to us, it means the world to us, because we started this whole thing over 6 years ago of like, I wonder if anybody would listen to this.
I wonder if anybody wants to hear us talk.
Well, it's fun when all of a sudden there is a technical difficulty that doesn't publish an episode on time, and we're getting text messages like, hey, where's today's episode? Right? Yep. Like that's cool. I mean, it's not cool that the issues happen, but I mean, issues happen, right? I mean, come on. It's just fun to know that there's people like you guys out there listening. So thank you so much. And let's roll into today's episode.
Well, I do want to say, before we leave, if you want to celebrate with us today, and I know a lot of you are listening, I know a lot of you out there, I can see the numbers. I've got dashboards that show me where people are listening from. We have way too much information at our fingertips. I know a lot of you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, and it doesn't cost anything. It's really just one of those, if you have been on YouTube, find our channel, subscribe to it. And that is one of the most helpful things you can do. If you really want to help us out, leave some comments in there. But that is a way that you can help us grow. We get out in front of more people. We're now finding people, as we are getting more subscribers that have subscribed to YouTube, they're reaching out to us saying, hey, you just showed up my feed. Well, that only happens with more of you that are actually subscribed to our channel. It starts pushing it out. So if you can do that for us, that will help us celebrate today. And thank you so much. We appreciate you all. And yes, now, Matt, we should jump into the episode.
Yes, and all you have to do is just go Life at 10 Tenths on YouTube. You just do the YouTube / or whatever, or just go into the show notes because we have a link to it. You can just click it. It's going to open the YouTube app. You hit the subscribe button. Everybody smiles. You can hear,
there's confetti
babies being born when you hit subscribe and you hit the bell. Like it's amazing.
It's incredible. Really incredible. All right, episode.
Well, let's get into today's episode, which is fun because I shared with you and Sarah a podcast because I love listening to Alex Hormozi's stuff because he's an operator. He's just like straight up business builder. It's very, very tactical, which is stuff that I love. And listening to this episode of his podcast where he's helping a person basically scale a community for a manifestation business, helping people teach people how to manifest, work on their mindset and all of this stuff. And all the while, like, Alex does not believe in that stuff. He's very clear. Like, no, I don't believe in like the mindset he calls the woo-woo stuff. And at the end, the guy asks him, he's like, well, tell me about that. And Alex says this thing here. He says, well, here's why I don't believe in it. I think it's all behavioral. And this is going to be fun to talk about because he says, well, if you look at it, if you have a change in mindset and no change in behavior, that equals nothing, right? In terms of tangible results. But change in mindset, change in behavior equals something. But no change in mindset, change in behavior also equals something. So which variable doesn't matter? And so his whole conclusion there is, well, mindset doesn't matter. It's just doing the thing. And then they went on to talk about like, well, don't you think mindset, can help impact your behavior and all this stuff? But manifestation is different than mindset too. And I think that is something that can be discussed about here, but I'm excited to kind of go down this path, Garrett.
Well, I thought it was fun because you sent me the podcast and you go to minute 41, and a half, which it's like a 50-minute podcast. So I'm like, what, like this part, like just the very end? And when it's funny when I turned
what
it
about
on,
all the other meat?
They sound like they're wrapping up. They're kind of like, going like, oh yeah, like just like kind of wrapping up a session. And then all of a sudden they dive into this topic. And mindset is something that I have been taught, trained around, worked with my entire life. And it's something that when coaching, I do a lot of work with people of like, we have got to get you in the mindset of the growth that you want to have, the patterns that you want to be in and all this. This way that he described it very much resonates with me because then I started to break down all the pieces of what happens when we are technically changing somebody's mindset and all the little elements that start to play into it. And I will say that there's a difference in the I believe I can, I believe I can't, and manifesting. Mm-hmm. And I want to just start this off with, I've worked with a lot of people that when you have the mindset of I believe I can't, you will never see the behaviors that will get you to the future and the path and the goals that you want to go to. If you just, I can't do that. We've all seen people do it. You might have heard yourself. You might be listening to this right now going, I have seen myself in my life going, I can't do that. And so that's a roadblock. And I do want to say, like, that's a mindset if we really want to talk about it, like, I can't. Or a belief system.
A belief system specifically, because I think it's very hard, because his whole theory then is, well, if you just do the actions that lead to results, it doesn't matter whether you believe in it or not. He didn't use the word belief, but I think it's very hard for someone to follow through with something consistently in the amount of time it really takes to see long-term sustainable results if they don't believe that it could work.
Yes.
Right. It would be outrageously difficult. Maybe there's somebody out there that could do it, but at the same time, if they're going to be that consistent, there's probably some sort of belief back there or a belief that develops of like, hey, this is working. So I believe that the next action that I take, it's like going for a walk. If I want to walk to my neighbor's house, do I believe if I put one foot in front of the other that I'm going to get there? I do, because I've seen that happen in my life before. That's how walking works. But if I was like, but I don't think walking would get me there, I probably wouldn't take a step. Yep. Does that make sense?
Oh, 100%. You have to have the mindset that I can go do it. And I think that's the interesting thing is when all of a sudden that mindset opens up of I can go do it. And it's funny, listening to Alex Hormozi, he's like, don't even use the word mind. Like, that doesn't mean anything. For him, he's just like, it doesn't mean anything. What is a mindset? But I think it's a belief of I can. And then from there, you do the actions that cause the results. So for instance, this got me thinking a lot about an affirmation that I created many years ago. And I had a belief system for years that I was bad at remembering names. And I was spectacular at it. You could tell me your name and your name would come in and I would process it and my brain would say, you are so bad at remembering names, just don't even worry about it. Like, we're going to have to ask them later. And at that moment in time, I'm like, I have no idea what they just said. Like, I don't know the name that they just gave me, which was a problem when you're growing a business and you're meeting people and you're at seminars and you're doing all this stuff. And all of a sudden I'm having to go back a minute later and be like, can you tell me your name again? It was interesting that was a belief system that I had built and learned over many, many, many years of experience, many years of growing up, being a kid, going to college, meeting all my professors, going to parties and meeting people. Names would just kind of come and go. What was interesting is that I had a moment that I asked myself, is it something that's really me, or am I just missing tools that allow me to be good at remembering names? Now, again, this goes back into, well, what came first? The mindset of I'm good at remembering names, or this acknowledgement that maybe I'm missing tools that would kind of help me do this? So I put the affirmation out there of I'm great at remembering names. And more so that started to come up for me, Matt, of like, I'm missing tools though. It's like I can sit here like telling myself I'm great at remembering names, but people are telling me their names and I'm like going, oh, wait. My mindset now is I'm great at remembering names. Then I take that name and I go, okay, since I'm great at it, I'm going to remember it now. And then I wouldn't remember it. And I was like, oh, crap. Well, I must not have a strong enough belief system or mindset around that yet. Then I had a couple people that I remember in my life that had great tools. Well, at least I watched them remember names like nobody's business. And I went and asked them questions. And I said, how do you remember names? How do you do this? I've watched you do it. And they both gave me very tangible tools, actions to take every single time somebody gave me a name. And it's amazing. All of a sudden, I took these tools. Somebody tells me their name. I applied the tool that changed the behavior. Guess what? I realize it now. It's almost impossible to forget somebody's name when you applied the tool and you change the behavior around it. Yeah, I get it why they remember names. When I apply the tools, I'm amazing at remembering names. Do I now have a belief system or a mindset that says when I apply the tools, I'm great at remembering names? And when I don't, because I've watched myself, just did it the other day, talk to somebody, and I was like, yeah, dude, you didn't even bother to use the behavioral tools that you have to remember the name. This section you gave me, Matt, made my brain go, well, what is it? Like, is it the chicken or the egg? This is really what we're talking about.
I totally agree. I think there is a chicken or the egg, and there's a couple things that he mentioned in this little segment, which we'll link it below, or if we can clip it in, we'll figure that out. I don't know if we can, but we'll definitely link to the podcast. And one thing I'll challenge him on is it sounds like he's basically saying thought is not action, but isn't the act of thinking an action? Therefore, it can create results that maybe then manifest, for lack of a better word, into a behavior, right? So you're not necessarily, now he uses the example like, well, if you didn't necessarily manifest a husband or a spouse, you started doing things that created an attraction or put you in the place to discover that spouse, right? And his whole other theory is that if we rely so much on exclusively mindset for things, then it kind of elevates victimhood of, well, I am just the result of whatever happens around me versus me being a cause into that as well. And so there's some other theories that come in here, but I will challenge and say, like, thought and belief is an action though. There is an action associated with it. It's not necessarily the thing that's going to put money in the bank account per se, but it could be like the names is a great thing, because I'm sure one of the tools was thinking and having conversations in your head about that person so you can remember the names, which is an action, but it's not an external action. And we can't just exclusively rely on external action, because at some point the action of our thoughts and our mindset and our belief system will likely overpower our physical action unless you are an Alex Hormozi who has very great control over his external actions.
Well, and I think one thing Alex Hormozi has is a belief that he can. Like that, every time I've watched him and I've been around him and you talk to him about stuff, that little voice that says, I don't think I can do that. His brain quickly goes to, I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out. Like if it's possible,
if somebody else has done it, why can't I?
I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to find the solutions. I will figure it out. I'll talk to the right people. I'll read the right books. I'll pull in the right information wherever I need to pull it in. I know a guy I should talk to that can actually help me with that. It's very different than someone that says, I believe I can't, and has a mindset around that because their brain just goes, I don't know how. And that's it. It's done. It's over. Their brain doesn't sit there and start to kind of, see what can we do. So I like what you said about that the actual mindset, that conversation, the thought about it, thinking about it, and kind of that actually is a behavioral change. Like if we could take anything right now, Matt, and say, today, let's overanalyze it in our brain. We're not going to take any action on it at all. But I just want you to think about over this next, 24 hours, what would it be like if you owned one rental property? What would it be like if you owned 5 rental properties? What would it be like if you owned 10 rental properties? What would it be like if you owned 30 rental properties? What if you had 100 rental properties? I just want you to just think about it today. One, what that would be like, what it would take to get there, and what would your life look like if that was the scenario and that was playing out in real life right now? You're not going to end up like being a real estate mogul at the end of 24 hours. But
we'll wake up tomorrow and 100 properties in my portfolio.
Look amazing. What I did. I did this. This is me. By the way, if you do that, you will be wealthy way beyond the real estate that you've purchased because you will write books, you will give speeches, you will tell everybody, oh my gosh, look what I did. I manifested this thing.
Yes.
But what's interesting is that thought process right there, just letting your brain run on that for 24 hours, even if you had, and again, this is where it comes into taking action and changing behavior. This is a behavioral change right now. Mm-hmm. That is different than what I did yesterday. I did not think about that all day yesterday. I actually didn't think about investment properties at all yesterday. But I am going to be thinking about it going into this day just because of the program that I just gave to you. I'm going to run myself just because that's just how our brains work. Just been programmed. Now it's going to run on it. And it's interesting I guarantee you, we could very well have a great conversation tomorrow about what would life look like.
I think this is where it gets into and where you and I kind of fall on this is to be careful of the sensibilization. I'm not going to get this word.
It's like
properly.
Hundredths and firsts, like that.
Yeah,
kind of thing. Yeah, I get it.
Basically this idea, and this kind of comes out of the movie The Secret, right? There's a lot of interviews and conversation in that movie of like, if you just think it, all of a sudden it will be. And there is the idea that the universe is a living, thinking substance, and our thoughts create impressions, which then start the creation of the things that then come to physically be. And while I'm not saying I don't believe that could be true, because also depending on what your faith is, like, yeah, there's a lot of blessings that we have in our life that, we don't necessarily have actual control over, right? And that's the beauty of this world and also the challenge of this world. But there's a certain part of the movie where they're talking about the manifestation of parking spaces, right?
Yep.
And you and I have talked about this. I don't know if we've talked about this on a podcast. Maybe we have. Where he's like, I just always have a parking spot at the front. Like and maybe I just need to wait a second where a car pulls out, but just always manifest a parking spot. And you and I had a conversation where we challenged us, like, do you really, or do you, because of your thought process, created a behavior of response to just where you park, where no matter where you park, you just believe that you're at the closest spot that you're there, because in actuality, if you're looking for the closest spot, you always have the closest spot available to the door.
Well, and then this goes back to, if you have the belief system that is something that you do, your brain sees things differently. Just like Alex Hormozi thinks he sees the world differently of going, what are my resources? What are my tools around me? Because I can do anything. If it's possible, I'm going to do it. Where you take this parking spot, and as somebody who says, I never get the spot up front, I always, oh gosh, no. I mean, it's raining, I probably have to park farther away. You know, you get people like that, and they pull in and they decide to go to the store during certain times of the day. They don't even realize it. They decide to, let's say they decide to go right at 5:00. Well, go. It's always like there's never a spot. Well, guess what? If you were to come here 2 hours ago, this parking lot was basically empty, and you probably could have parked right up front. But you kind of are here when everybody else is here. Yes, check the box. You did it. Well done. You don't see the clues. The person that always parks up front and goes, it doesn't matter what's going on. They see that person who's walking out, and they're watching them, and they're seeing them reach in their pocket for their keys. They're watching them hit the unlock button and going, which car lights up? It's that one right there. Okay, I'm going to maneuver my way over there. Hopefully I'll be able to turn in that aisle before that other person turns. Oh, I did. I got it. Like, I'm in. And I always get that spot. They see these little clues because their brain says, I think I can. Where the can't, you can never get there. You never see that stuff. So I want to go back real quick. And I know the movie The Secret was really interesting. And I loved it. The movie that came before that a lot of people have not seen is What the Bleep Do We Know? And What the Bleep Do We Know is an amazing movie. It was brought out kind of as the first step in kind of getting people to kind of open their minds up on a global level to like this is more mainstream kind of way of thinking about this stuff. There's been books written for years. There's so much stuff. Quantum physics is built around all this stuff. But so you start off with this, what the bleep do we know? And then they're like, okay, people really like that, but we can go deeper with it. And then they went into this movie, The Secret. And right around the same time, there was a book that came out called The Hidden Messages in Water. That's a fascinating book if you haven't written it. But that's another one of like, how do our thoughts control the things around us, where they do freezing experiments on water based off of how people have focused and talked to these water bottles in the New York subway as they've walked past it, either swearing at the bottle or telling the bottle how much they love it. They then went and flash froze the water, and it made different types of crystals, and they documented it all. That came out around the same time. When The Secret came out, it pushed a ton of people where they were like, if you listen to it, a lot of it feels like we can manifest anything we want. And I actually think for as great as that movie was, it actually damaged a lot of people who went, yeah, I know, I great, wonderful. But you had to have a lot of the backstory behind it to really make you go, whoa, like I see things differently now. And then the answer came out. And that was John Assaraf's answer to, okay, guys, it's not manifestation. This is the behavioral stuff in how and why, when you have the potential there that you've put in, which is the thought and the belief, now you can actually create stuff with it. There's a journey I encourage all of you to go on. They're all stuff you can do with your family. You can read all those books, watch all those movies. It's really a fascinating journey.
And I love all of that. We should go, and you should look at all these things and the studies and because I think everything with that stuff points to there is energy that's directed that does come from your thoughts, right? Like our thoughts can direct energy. Our belief systems can direct energy, which then changes our behavior. And Alex, in this segment of the podcast, he basically says the law of attraction is this made up thing, and basically he's identifying the movie The Secret as a movie that was created by direct response marketers, which, let's be honest, it is. A movie was made to make money.
Yep.
Movies
and they got a lot of big names. They pulled in a lot of big names, a lot of big people that made the whole world stop and go, we should pay attention to this.
Yeah. And, whether or not you believe in the law of attraction, if you break it down and understand like, hey, there are belief systems that do influence our experiences, because our belief can change. You can put two people in the same room and they can leave an experience with a group of people and have a different opinion on what transpired in that room, which to me shows that how we think certainly changes our experiences, our behaviors, and then the action that happens next. Like, I love the studies with the water. I love the studies that are done with flowers and things, because it shows that by acting on because even with that, it does show, you could believe that you don't want to be a negative person to a flower, but if you say bad things to it, it's not going to grow the same as something that has good things to say, which I think highlights that our actions are outrageously powerful, potentially more powerful than our thoughts in this world, if we can get into quantum physics and belief systems and all that stuff.
On this plane?
But ultimately, people are looking for results in this world. So if you want results in this world, action is required.
Yes.
However, your thinking will influence your action, because this is how you get into conditional and unconditional behaviors, your conscious versus your unconscious brain, and how does that drive certain things. But I do agree with Alex, and I will say this, is that if you just sit there and only think and you don't take action, like if you're like, hey, I am going to eat terrible food, but I'm going to think that it's good for me. Now, maybe I am not enlightened enough to see the other side of this, but I just don't think, and that's because of my own belief system, that if you eat McDonald's every day, that you're going to, now if you eat in caloric deficit, you might lose weight. But if you just overindulge every day,
Matt,
you're probably not going to lose weight.
Caloric deficit, you might.
You know, like if you overindulge in processed foods and sugars and stuff, but you tell yourself like, this is good for me, I just don't know if those physical results are going to be there in this world.
Yeah.
Maybe somebody wants to prove me wrong on that one.
Well,
but maybe that's because we share a belief system.
And
See, like now I'm questioning myself, Garrett.
Yes. No. The vortex has started. So I think this is where I watch with people's businesses, and this is where I look back at so many years of helping people with their mindset and changing mindset. And then I have some people that we will go down that path, a lot of people, and they're like, whoa, I am seeing things differently. Different opportunities are coming in. I'm, talking to different people. All of a sudden I got asked to go to lunch by this person. Did I make that happen? What happened that made that happen? Well, you could probably trace it that you talked to somebody that talked to that person that made them call. That was like, oh, well, there was an actual effect that happened here. It wasn't just they came out of thin air and called me. Like, there's lots of things that we can't necessarily connect the dots on because the distances are just too far.
Yes.
But I have watched many people that will sit there, hire me as a coach, and they're like, all right, I know I need to get my mindset squared around. And they have all this crap, baggage, other belief systems in there that things won't work. Things never work out for me. The sky is always falling. Every single time I get a win, I get a loss. Every single time I get a win, I get 2 losses. Like, this is just how the world's always worked for me. And they sit there and they start doing affirmations and trying to change their mindset. And the whole time they keep calling me going, it's not working yet. It's not working yet. Why isn't it? This is supposed to happen. I'm supposed to say these affirmations 25 times a day, write them down for 30 days, and it's not working yet. And it's like, well, yeah, this is where I go back to Alex Hormozi, is that you can sit here and focus on these things all day long. At some point, you have to say, how does somebody that has those types of results show up in this world? And do I want to take action on those things? Or do I just want to sit around and wait and then also have another piece of baggage that says, I can never get a win? And there's so many layers to this. I love this podcast because it brought up this conversation where Matt, when we both listened to it, we're like, oh, this will be a fun one to talk about.
Well, it challenges the whole thinking of like, well, if you just wake up and you do your gratitudes and your affirmations, like you're going to crush it. And I think it brings up for us that, and we've always talked about this because a big part of what you and I do is helping people with mindset, right? And what was interesting is there's people who just exclusively will be out there and say, if we just change your mindset, you can change everything else. And it is true because usually it'll lead into other things. But I will say these things go together because it's like the silver bullet episode we just did. If you're just looking for the mindset silver bullet, well, I'm just going to write these affirmations. It results in what you just described where I'm doing it, but I'm not seeing it. Why not? Yep. Because you just just chose one thing, and there is no silver bullet. In fact, I also believe that you can influence your mindset by your behavior. If you're like, I don't know, if you're stuck in a place and we can't cure a mindset in a way right now, then let's just figure out what actions can we just start doing that will then on the backside come around. Because I've seen people, Garrett, they're like, you know what? All right, I'll take your word for it. I'll start doing systems. And then all of a sudden they start seeing results, which leads them to writing affirmations and better gratitude practices, which then kind of start to create this really nice upward spiral. And so it can work both ways too. Whereas a lot of people in the manifestation space will say, well, if you don't do this, then you can't see this. It's like, I don't think it's true, because it's all connected together. And when you look at energy, and the books and videos you described talk about the correlation between all of this stuff. And that's something that we need to acknowledge, is that it's all connected together. And that's how you can use it to your advantage.
Well, and I think what challenges a lot of people is we're looking for a very linear answer, where we're going like, okay, if I want to have that object over there and I want to pull it towards me, well, if I tie a rope to it and I pull on it, it's going to come directly towards me. And this is where it's like, it's not that simple. There's a lot going on here when you start layering in all these different things. And when I look at an affirmation, the affirmation for me, gratitudes for me, just put my mind in a space that I want to be in, that opens myself up to possibilities. It opens myself up to answers. It opens myself up to that mindset in place that the answers will show up around me as I need them. As I want to create something, I can go find it. I have a mindset that I'm a great learner. And if I don't like sitting in school, but man, you want to give me a problem that I want to solve, I will go find answers and I will figure it out myself, to the point that people walk around me going like, you did what? Like, wait, what are you doing? Like, doesn't this freak you out? And it's like, no, I know I will figure it out. If I want to learn it, I will figure it out. These are mindsets and beliefs that people have about themselves that I think, in taking away from all this, what we talked about today, if you want to go listen to Alex Hormozi, I think that that's how I would interpret what he's saying there with what is the variable that you can take out that is not necessary. And I will say your behaviors are the determining factor of results that you'll see. I do disagree a little bit with I say that your mindset will allow you to be open to seeing the answers.
And that's what I agree with. I think his binary view on mindset versus action, saying that those two are mutually exclusive, I don't think that they are. I do think that you need the behavior for sure.
And
right?
Alex, if you're listening, because I know you are, if you're listening and you want to come on and have a conversation about this, dude, let's do it. Because I love this stuff.
Yeah. Well, because behavior, the thoughts that go in your head that influence a mindset is a behavior. Therefore, your physical behavior can be influenced by the thoughts that are going on in your head. Now, if you can somehow vacuum out somebody from the world, and basically just instruct somebody to do a behavior that they don't believe in, they probably will still see results, but you're going to have to create so many other things that you're actually now influencing that behavior through a lot of other means, which at the end of the day, if our individual self can be influenced by our thoughts, our behaviors can be influenced by our thoughts, doesn't that mean that our mindset is important and a crucial element in terms of our own success, however we want to define that? And I would say, yeah, it is. So
hopefully you enjoyed this journey you got to go on with us today.
Yeah, this is welcome everybody to the fun conversations that Garrett and I have, and then pull into a podcast but I think this one's really important because if it was just action, pure behavior, then why would not everybody go and do the behaviors and realize the results that they want to see? If it is pure behavior, why do people not do certain things? And it's because of other things that go on inside their head and beliefs and actions that they do or do not take. The choices that we make to take action are based on what we're thinking. So therefore, the initial action is an action that takes place inside our brain, otherwise known as a thought,
which is a behavior,
which can be constructed based on our mindset and our belief system.
which again is with these thoughts and these beliefs allows us to take action in the right areas. Cause like,
Yes.
there's so many ways we can look at this and so many different ways we can kick it around. But like, again, when I look at the results that people get, it's like, yeah, no wonder you got those results because you showed up and you did those actions. Well, what allowed you to go take those actions? What was a belief system that you were going to go find the solutions? Well,
yeah. Well,
perfect.
And then we can go and point to the studies that Joe Dispenza highlights in his books and things where you can take groups of people who think about playing the piano and mentally rehearse, which is an action, versus the people who physically rehearse versus people who do nothing. And while the mental rehearsal doesn't necessarily perform as good as the physical rehearsal because you're combining another action with an action, so you're compounding there, they do perform better than the people who do nothing, right? So there is proof through studies that mental rehearsal and taking action through your mind does help you improve in terms of being able to create a result, but ultimately to physically manifest that result, there is a physical action that likely needs to transpire. You know, the car isn't going to all of a sudden just appear in my driveway. I have to go and buy it.
100%.
Absolutely.
I like this topic, man. Thank you for bringing this one to the table.
Me too. Thank you for going down this path with me because we put this on the list a while ago and like, hey, let's pull this up. So guys, if you want to go hear that clip from Alex, and I would love to hear what people think about this because I will say this is an open conversation for sure. And we like to create open spaces for this because our belief systems on this will impact how you guys take action. So go to our YouTube. If you're listening on audio, if you're watching on YouTube, you're already there. Comment below this video on your thoughts. You know, what are your mental and physical routines that you perform on a daily basis and how does it impact you? Because I hear from my clients all the time, you know, one thing that changed that helped me really take better action was I started doing affirmations. I started doing gratitudes. And I will say for me, I perform way better in a day when I start with gratitude. In fact, today is one of those days, Garrett. I didn't even tell you this yet. I woke up this morning. I was like, I don't feel good. I don't want to work out. I'm supposed to do sprints today. I don't want to do it. I want to go back to bed. I looked at like my watch and my Whoop and I'm like, I didn't have good quality sleep. I ate like garbage yesterday. Like, I don't feel good. I should just go back to bed. And then I was like, you know what? I know I'll feel better after I do these things. Let me do a little gratitude. And now I did go do the action, but I used the action of thought in my mind to then encourage myself to go. And now I feel great. You know, I could have been like a drag all day. Yeah, bummer, you know, whatever. But I was like, you know what? I want to show up for the community today. I want to show up for myself today. And I know I'll feel better at the end of this because I have a history and results that show that. And so let me sit down, practice some gratitude and get in the right mood and let's go do it. And we did. So anyway, guys, comment below. Thank you so much for joining us. And if you want to learn more about what Garrett and I do, where we bring in some mindset stuff, but also heavily focus on the actions you can take to grow your business and succeed in real estate or anything else, come check out Life at 10 Tenths. Go to our website, lifeat10tenths.com. We have the 11 Circle, which is our group coaching program. It's incredible. We have wonderful people in there, incredible community. We coach every single week. And you can get a 7-day free trial so you can get access to all of our stuff because it's all recorded. You can take our business plan and just be like, hey, I'm in here for 7 days, build myself a business plan. And if you don't like anything else, no harm, no foul.
Matt, I've given a couple tours lately inside the community for people that are wanting to check it out. And that's the number one thing is they come in, they see all the videos, all the hour coaching sessions we've done, all the interviews we've had, all the people, the success labs we've had. And they're like, this is all in here. I'm like, yeah, this is all part of what you get.
Yeah. Dan Martell's in there. Eric Simon's there. Matthew Ferrara is in there from our Success Labs. This month, we're having a tax strategist come in and help us figure out, like, how do we set up our businesses for success and the best structure for navigating the entire tax world and all of these things. There's so many wonderful things, not to mention every single week we're in their live coaching, Garrett. So if you think 100 episodes of the podcast is cool, how about probably close to 50 at the point of this being published, maybe a little less, 50 sessions in there through GPS, business planning, Success Labs, live coaching. And I know it feels like I'm like really trying to sell this right now.
Yeah.
But it's just, I'm proud of what we've built, man. I'm proud of what we built, and I'm excited that people are in there. And there's even a starter membership if you guys just want to get some extra content that's kind of like in that mindset world as well and can get you pumped up and good energy. We have a whole little section for that too, which is awesome. So,
well,
anyway,
we
thanks for tuning in,
appreciate
and thank you, Garrett.
you all, man. The 101st episode. Let's keep crushing it, man. Appreciate you showing up with me to do these consistently for a long time now, but still having fun, man.
Yeah, it is a lot of fun. Appreciate you, man. So, guys, catch you on the next episode.
Thanks for one.